I've got three of Omaha's like restaurant bakery who's who chefs here tonight that are going to tell us all about that. We got Ben Maides, Katina, Talley, and Paul Urban. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and I think so often, just as a dining community, we hear about how hard it is to own and operate a restaurant, so much that I feel like we kind of get numb to it because we don't understand. And that's something that the more chefs that I've gotten to know, the more of this podcast that I've done, and I'm not living that life, so I don't fully understand, but I've gotten a better sense of, yeah, this is really hard. And I think it would help to create a better understanding between diners and restaurants if there was just a better shared understanding of that. So I've got three of Omaha's like restaurant bakery who's who chefs here tonight that are going to tell us all about that. We got Ben Maides, Katina, Talley, and Paul Urban. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Real quick, I would love for each of you to introduce yourself. Just give us the 30-second to a minute synopsis on who you are and what restaurants/bakeries you run. Ben, go ahead.
My name is Benjamin Maides. I'm the chef owner of Courant Restaurant. I'm currently working on a new project out in Elkhorn in the old Bella Vita space.
I am Katina Talley. I am a food scientist turned restaurateur. I own Sweet Magnolias Bake Shop, No Good, and a future concept on 30th and Leavenworth.
My name is Paul Urban, and I'm the co-owner of Block 16. And that's it. That's all I'm saying right now.
That's a lot.
You don't have a future project in the works?
I do.
You've got like 18 irons in the fire at all times.
Yeah. But right now, this is what we're doing.
And it's more than enough. Block 16 is a wonderful establishment.
Thank you.
So I just want to kind of lay out what tonight is. We're going to be talking about the reality of restaurants. But what this is not just going to be a bunch of people complaining about their jobs. It's going to just be laying out the reality of what the life is like. And I think educating and creating a better understanding of what it is like to run a restaurant. So I just want to start with you guys. When you get, walk us back to the moment to when you first thought, I want to run a restaurant. What did you think it was going to be, and how is it different?
I know Ben and I had a conversation like 2 weeks ago because we've been buddies since culinary school, and we talk all the time. And I just remember, like, Ben, just to wrap it up, Ben was like, hey, remember when we were younger and we were like, man, just wait till we open up a restaurant. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna cook every day, and now we're like therapists and handymen, and like, it's a little different than what we had hoped for.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Eventually I think you just get into it and you start doing it. And if you stay with it, at some point, I think that truly is kind of the next step. You get to a point creatively or whatnot. Paul and Jess were always huge supporters of me kind of doing my own project. They're like, you got to do your own place. And, I think that was always the dream. And, now we get to live it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a completely different world. I was in corporate food before, and when I went home and told my family I was going to start a business, they were like, are you sure? Like, that is, like, how much work that's going to be, right? And, 26-year-old me was like, yeah, for sure. Like, I got this. And then, like, nothing can possibly prepare you for, like, the hours that it takes and the focus that it takes and just like the absolute commitment to your vision that it takes. I had no idea.
Well, Paul, you said something interesting there that I want to follow up on, is that I think, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm putting words in your mouth, but I think I would venture to guess all three of you got into this because you love food. You love cooking, you love creating. But running a restaurant is so much more than that. It's like you mentioned, Paul. You're a businessman. You're a babysitter. You're a boss. You're a contractor. You're an electrician. You're all these different. You have to wear all these different hats that are different from the one that you originally wanted to put on. Like, how have you reconciled with that as you've realized that, hey, owning a restaurant is really not all that much about creating food?
Well, I mean, it's always better than working for someone else, in my opinion. I love working. I like working for ourselves, and so that makes it all worth it. And I mean, you still get the creativity, and it's just really hard. That's all. It's still worth it. It's still worth the grind. It's still like there are moments you have where you're like, I don't know if we should be doing this anymore. It's exhausting, but at the end of the day, you get to create and you get to do what you love, and so when you have to go all these other routes to get there, it's not always pleasurable, but I don't think any job's 100% easy.
What is one thing that you guys wish you knew when you opened your restaurant or bakery that you would tell to anyone who were opening a similar concept today?
Don't do it.
But is that serious? Well, what percent joke and what percent serious is that?
I mean, that's just kind of the joke in the industry. Everyone's like, don't do it. I mean, Dario used to say that when, we were opening up Obley. He was like, don't do it, don't do it. I mean, Paul did tell me to do it. But
yeah.
But, I mean, I'm sure, there's challenges and everything, but, it's just a challenging business, but, it is a lot of work. And I don't think you really always realize what you're getting yourself into. But like Paul said, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we got to be creative. We got to do what we want to do. And to some extent, that is worth the effort. So, it's a trade-off.
We always tell people that, like, you got to love it. Like, if you don't love it 100%, if you're just cooking somewhere and you're like, I think I'll go open a restaurant next. Like, unless you love it, don't do it. Like, it's because it's a lot of work. I mean, I know when we opened, we had a negative balance in our checking account, and we were open 24 hours, and I think we got 30 phone calls asking for donations. Like, it's like, oh, you own a restaurant, you're loaded, you must, you know what I mean? And it was just like all these surprise things that we learned what FARP was when we first opened, the false alarm reduction program, where you have to pay a fee just in case your alarm system goes off. Even if you don't own an alarm system, you have to pay this annual fee to cover the police force in case they have to come to your place of business. It's just little stuff like that where you're just like, oh my God, like there's so much more to it than you think. It's a lot.
FARP might be the
FARP.
worst acronym of all time.
Yeah.
Although, from what a pain it is, it sounds like it kind of is fitting, to be completely honest.
That is, yeah.
Katina, what's something that you wish someone would have told you as you took over Sweet Mags?
I thought it was interesting, like the whole "don't do it." I think that is the running joke. I think when I got into it, it's like kind of working off two things that were said. Like doing it because you don't want to work for someone else, while like not necessarily a bad motivation, like isn't enough. Like there's so many days that like I'm like, man, I wish I could just clock in and clock out.
Yeah.
Like that way would be incredible. But yeah, just like understanding like, again, like that commitment that it takes and like the sustained effort that it will take to then like build a team and manage your people. And I mean, if you're doing it right, like, you get into it because you love food so much. And I feel like if you're really doing it right, like you end up kind of managing yourself out of that job and you're bringing other people in to do the cooking and like the thing that you love the most, and like you become operations. And yeah, like I think if I looked, that was 10 years ago that I took over Sweet Mags, and if I look at why I got into it and the job that I'm doing now, like they are completely different.
So at what point does like mentorship and helping other people fill those roles that you wanted to have originally, at what point does that kind of become the main motivation, maybe even over food?
I mean, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I mean, I had a pivotal moment for me as a business owner was being able to offer healthcare benefits and PTO and a 401k to my employees, and like getting to that point where it's like I built this thing to the point where I can employ people and give them a career in this that is like, you know, they're not getting rich, but like it is just like it could sustain them. That becomes the why. Like, I mean, not that the other stuff goes away. Like, I still love making really delicious food, but like, I am really proud of what we've been able to build and like the team we've been able to build.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the name of the game now. I mean, it is a mentorship game, you know, and it's not so much about what I can do, because I can't really do anything by myself. You know, I am a very small cog in my team, and I rely on my team, you know, and it just kind of, the conversation changes, and it's, you know, what can I get you to do? What can I get you to understand? How can I help you? You know, and that's kind of our thing is, you know, how can I have my team help achieve their goals? You know, it's not, I've done this and I've done that, and it's like, whatever, who cares? But I'm like, where are we at? Where are we at as a unit? Where are we as a team? And where do we want to go together? You know, and I think that is the future of this industry is, you know, providing a good environment, feeding people's, you know, find out what their needs are and find a way to help them get there. You know, that's a beautiful thing. You know, I've had a lot of people come through my kitchens over the years, and a lot of them have done really great things, and I love that. That's the biggest compliment. It's the coolest thing to see.
I actually just had your chef de cuisine, Colin Werner, on the podcast a couple weeks ago. It's going to come out next week. But when people are hearing this, it'll come out several weeks ago. Yeah. This is a bad This is a bad hosting job. I mean, regardless, I was incredibly impressed by him because the last time we came into Courant, he was running the kitchen, and service was wonderful. The food was at the same level it's always been, and he's 27 years old.
Yeah, and he's a prime example. He's a really great example of kind of, you know, and I've just been working a ton with him and just really just helping. You know, I mean, if you find the right people, you just want to help them achieve what they want to achieve, and he's a prime example of that. I couldn't agree with you more. He's just doing an amazing job. Young, hungry, talented, wants to learn, wants to keep growing, and, you know, if I can keep watering that tree, then that's great. That's the whole goal. It's the name of the game.
Now, Katina and Ben, you guys both made the joke, should we get into restaurants? No, don't do it. And yet, you are actively ignoring your own advice right now. You're both opening new concepts, or you're working on them. Well, what is it about, like, where's that disconnect in your head where you know how hard this is, and you're just like, God, this is going to be just so rough, but you still do it? Well, why do you still do it?
I mean, love of the game.
I was just going to say that. Yeah. I call it a disease. I don't know. Like, I can't stop. There's something about creating a concept and creating a space in your community that people want to be in that's just, and like, I don't know, like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm okay at it. Like,
I'll toot that horn. You're very okay at it.
But yeah, I think pouring into the community and you know, it's like I'm doing what I want to be doing, and I'm providing something cool for the people around me. So I think that's what it is for me.
Yeah, and I think, you know, feeding people better food, you know, it's just like seeing new concepts, seeing people bring more exciting things to the city as a food city as a whole. You know, Omaha's just been kind of very much a roller coaster food city, and it's just like, I want to see this food scene grow, and I want to see more quality concepts. You know, I want to open more restaurants so I can support more farmers, so we have better, you know, products for all the restaurants here in town. You know, I see a lot of the big cities blown up, Minneapolis, Kansas City, you hear a lot, and, you know, I think there's a lot of cool things happening here, and a lot of people just don't talk about it.
I couldn't agree more. Paul, you talked about, you know, there are days where you're just like, should we even be doing this anymore? I would love to hear, and I'm sure you guys have all had that thought, I would love to hear a story of a day, like what happened on that day when you had that thought and you were just like, what if we just got out of this? What if we were just done? But then something changes at the end of the day because you come back to it. You guys are still in this. You haven't quit. So tell me about like an instance where you had that emotion and what kind of pulled you back and said, no, this is why we do it.
Well, I do. There was a day over the last, I don't know, I think it was about 2 years ago now. My daughter had a very scary and serious medical issue in the morning, like an ambulance and like the whole deal, and she's fine. But it was a very, very, very scary morning, and I know I got to work and I got a text from one of the cooks that they weren't coming in that day. The person at the time that was running all of our caterings came upstairs, and it just seemed like this all happened at the same time. And she's like, I forgot to tell you we have a catering for 150 people in 2 hours. And it was like one thing after another, and then my phone dinged, and I looked down, and it's like, oh, you got a new 1-star Google review. It's like, it was like, I usually love this place, but today, and I was just like, man, like, and it's just days like that, like Katina said, like, it's like, I just want to clock in and clock out, and, but then by the end of the day, it's, I don't know, you get to create, and you get to, like, put everything that you want to do out into the world and let people try it, and it just, it's just worth it. So
Yeah, having guests that appreciate the food is 100% what makes it worth it as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys
do you want another story?
Yeah. Let's have story time. I like story time.
My one won't be so much I guess maybe not really a specific instance, but this past pie season, my 10th pie season, it was honestly one of the better ones we had. Like, we did the most pies we've ever done, and we were also the most prepared we've ever been, which is, like, kudos to my team. It could not have gone better. But, like, even when it's going perfectly, you're working 18-hour days, waking up at 2. Like, it is chaos. And, the night when you're setting your alarm and it's like, I have to be up in an hour and a half, is when you're like, maybe I just don't do this anymore. And then you wake up and you're driving to the bakery and you're like, but man, I do love this. Like, I am so stoked to make 600 people's Thanksgiving just like slap. So yeah, I mean, it's like if you're lucky, you don't go through those like long extended pits of like, why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Like, you get it back pretty fast. Which comes down to good customers.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yeah, they make it worth it. Yeah. Good customers out there, thanks. You motivate us.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, Paulie, we've probably shared 1,000 of these stories over the years.
That's what this podcast is for. We can air them now.
There was one day at Courant, we must have been a year and a half old, and we were never busy ever when we opened. I know this story. And, well, there's a few. Paul knows all of them. But we were just cooking, and all of a sudden the hood just shut off. And we're never busy, and we had like a 16 top of Creighton University faculty. And I'm like, we can't not like serve these people in the restaurant. The hood's out, like the gas is still working. Like, we're just like, half the restaurant had power, the other half didn't. Like, long story short, or me, I don't know. It was weird electrical issue. Anyway, one of the cooks like goes outside, starts puking from carbon monoxide poisoning, and like, I'm the only one in there cooking with like smoke and sweat, and yeah, we did it, and I don't know how I got through it, but we did, and on to the next one.
So is it, when you get to the end of a night like that, where it's just absolute hell, and one thing after another is going wrong, is it just like that rush at the end of the night when service is over and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm still alive. We did it. Like, the restaurant is still here. It's not dead. It didn't, like, the ground didn't open up and swallow it. Is that part of what keeps you guys going?
Yeah, for me.
It's that type 2 fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's always hard things. My joke is always like, guys, we're not saving lives here. We're just cooking food. So worst case scenario, you get a Google 1-star review and someone doesn't like your food. I'm like, life goes on. I think there's, a lot of people dealing with a lot of challenging things, and I mean, how does everybody deal with challenging things? You just get up and you do it again, and you love it, and you get used to the lifestyle, and eventually you just rinse and repeat, and you just keep one foot after the other.
What is a myth that food TV has created about restaurant life?
I don't know.
I don't watch a ton of food TV, to be
Yeah,
honest.
anymore, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not as bad as everybody makes it out. The best way I can sum it up, there are people like, how's the restaurant business? I'm like, you know what? It's like riding a roller coaster. You just strap in and you enjoy the ride. And sometimes you're going up, sometimes you're going down, sometimes you're upside down and the roller coaster stops, and you just hang on and enjoy the ride. And the other thing I just keep telling myself, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I just always have to get up sometimes and be like, you got to just keep going. And that is true. And I love maybe tying into the food TV thing. I love seeing Alain Passard, who's 60 years old in France, in his kitchen and his button down shirt, cooking vegetables. And I'm like, yes. I was like, if that guy can do it, I can do it. So, they do it. There's people doing it every day.
Ben's never this positive, by the way. Ever.
He's putting on a good face for the public.
Yeah.
Well, I find it so interesting because it's kind of like what you guys talked about earlier. My favorite TV show is Top Chef. Sarah and I binged that during the pandemic. We got hooked on it. We watch it every week now. And it's a great show, and it has awesome cooking. And at the end of the season, there's a winner, and they name them Top Chef. But really, it's Top Cook, because there's so many other responsibilities that go into being a chef. If you win a bunch of individual cooking challenges, that's awesome. That has very little to do with the all-encompassing job that a chef is. And I think that's just one example of where that line has been distorted a little bit. And I think so many people think the term chef just means you're creating dishes and you're cooking and you're being creative. And that's certainly part of what you guys do. But there's all this other stuff that is surrounding that, like you mentioned, Katina, has to some extent even become more of the job than cooking and creating did originally. This is my question. This one's for me. No one in this room or listening to this would be surprised at all to know that I love local restaurants over chain restaurants. And I recognize that chain restaurants have their time and place. They are important to the economy. A lot of times they're more convenient for families. They can still be locally owned, so locals can still be benefiting from owning them. But they have advantages that a truly locally owned restaurant does not have. I would love for you guys to just shed the light on an advantage that a chain restaurant has that a locally owned restaurant might have to overcome.
Well, they have buying power, for one. They get special rates on everything because they're able to, they're purchasing a lot more than what we're able to purchase. That's one example. I don't have any following, so hopefully you guys do.
I mean, they can buy everything pre-made. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, true.
It's a lot faster.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean that they can buy it pre-made?
I mean, it just, you hear about it all the time, but I mean, it's just buying a bag of something and dropping it in the fryer, I mean, it's not, convenience food's not going away. I mean, you should see some of the stuff that's available. Pre-grilled chicken breast, the stuff you can buy from your broadliner that's already made, it's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Katina?
I mean, yeah, economies of scale.
Yeah.
Being small is hard, and there's just a huge, the hurdles are just so much higher when you're just a little guy buying, a couple cases of something and cooking everything from scratch and paying, skilled labor, and it's just, it's a totally different ballgame.
Yeah, and buying high quality.
Yeah.
It's a lot more expensive. Good butter.
Definitely.
Good everything. It's a lot more expensive.
I think it's a case of the rich get richer too. It's it's like once you've reached that milestone where you say you're the chain and you have 65 locations and they're all making, they're all at your 4% margin. but they have that, then you have that, that extra money to pay a marketing team, or you have the extra money to get a purchaser that's dedicated to that. And it's, so it's tough when, you have, 2 or 3 small businesses. There's a big difference between having 2 or 3 small businesses and having 600 locations. It's just, it's very different.
For sure.
Let's talk a little bit about that economy. How has the economy of the restaurant world changed over the past 5 to 10 years?
I don't know. It's hard to keep track.
Everything
changes so quickly.
Gotten expensive for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It changes a lot. I mean, you have to just, you got to be able to, the biggest thing I've learned is you just got to be nimble and quick. You got to be able to pivot, and you got to be able to make moves quick, because otherwise you just get left in the dust. And I think that's the advantage of being smaller, and me particularly, I'm just a restaurant guy. I realize that I like restaurants, but there's so many other facets. There's chains, there's this, there's that, and the rules are just so different. But I still will choose quality over quantity, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
And I do feel like that is one of the benefits of like sourcing locally from farms rather than going to Pegler Cisco, because when the economy started to tank, like right around COVID, that did affect all of these major corporations where like our pork and our beef and our eggs, none of that wavered with the economy, because it's so, it doesn't affect other than the feed going up, it's not affecting it like it is the mass produced garbage or stuff.
How much did that fact play into, Ben, both you and Paul, you guys both have farms now that you grow a lot of produce and even some animals on. How much did the fact that it is expensive to pay for great ingredients from local farms, you want to support them as much as you can, but it is a higher cost. How much did that motivate you guys to start your own farms?
Not very far, because I realized how much work it is, and I was like, this is really challenging.
Yeah.
I finally downsized the pig operation. I was like, this is too much work. But no, I mean, it did. And, and I'm still continuing to work on that. I don't know what it's like for you and Jess, Paul, but I mean, there is something satisfying about knowing where your food comes from and that. But, I think like anything else, I have more respect now for the farmers than anything else, because just getting, even if I can save $1 a pound, the amount of work it took to feed those pigs every day, and then, drive them to the locker, and then pick them up, and then butcher them, I don't know if the ROI is there when you factor all the time it takes. Mm-hmm. But live and learn,
Yeah, local farms, we owe so much to them, and there's a reason why restaurants pay more for their products, because they are so much better. I mean, Miller Dorman Farm, they had a sale a couple weeks ago, and I went out there, bought a carton of eggs, and I think it was like $8 for 12 eggs, and at the grocery store it's $3.50 or whatever. I kid you not, these were the greatest eggs I've ever had. Like, I barely seasoned them, and I'm a very average cook, and had the greatest scrambled eggs. They were bigger. They were like, the color on them was completely different. It was more vibrant, and it was just yet another reminder that this is why restaurants go to those local farms, and to support them. Because if you guys don't support them, it's harder for the community to buy that much to be able to help them keep their operations going. So thank you for you guys going out and making sure those farms survive. What is your stance on customer reviews? Do you read them? Why or why not? Everyone looked at Paul.
I know. I used to take it a lot more personally. And I don't anymore. I just, there is something about it that just, like I had said earlier, when you read a review and it's like, oh, I usually love this place, but today they were off their game, 1 star. And it's like, man, like, so how many times have you been here and liked it and didn't bother to support us a little bit and, give us something, some nice words on the internet, but the one time you had a negative experience is when you do it. So I've come to, like, the way I look at it now is like some people just complain. It's like, it's almost like spraying for dandelions. Like, you don't know why you're doing it. There's no reason to get them out of your yard, but you just do it. And so it is what it is. It's like Ben says, like, somebody doesn't like your food, move on. It is what it is. It stinks that it can matter, that, you get enough negative reviews and your review, whatever, your rating goes down. And, even when you're traveling, you just look for somewhere to eat. And if you see a couple of places and one of them is like a 4.3 and someone else is a 4.7, your mind goes right to the higher rating. It just does. So, it's unfortunate, but.
Yeah, I don't know what toggle got hit on my Google settings, but I have not been receiving Google reviews as they've been coming in, and it has been, I guess for me, it does still matter. I still place a lot of stock in those. So my mental health has been so much better since they've been off. I can still gauge how we're doing by watching the star rating, and I don't have to get into the nitty gritty. And I just want, man, if I could encourage everyone, if you have something to say and you want it to be heard, send an email to somebody. I will absolutely read and respond to your emails, and I guarantee I don't want you to have a bad experience at my restaurant. So that's going to go so much further, and I will have so much more empathy if it's human to human rather than through this weird star rating system where it's here's how much you're worth to me.
100%. And that's a great point too, is that we really just want everyone to be happy. It really is. It's not an ego thing. We just really want you to be happy. And I guarantee you, instead of going home and putting a 1 star out there, if you come and talk and say, hey, I hated this, I didn't like it, they will always make it right. Yep. We bought some lady a gift card at Texas de Brazil because she hated us so much. But we just wanted her to be happy. We're like, okay, you want to come back here? Here's $50. Go to the restaurant you like. It's at the end of the, we're just people. So I agree with that 100%. It's a weird thing to go home and angry type when we can certainly work it out.
Yep.
I feel like that's a very common refrain that I hear from chefs is somebody will go to a restaurant, they'll have a maybe not even subpar experience, but there was something they didn't like. My fish was overcooked. My burger was way too salty. And instead of talking to someone at the restaurant, because that would involve confrontation and human interaction, they go home and they write it on a message board or on social media or on a review platform. And the chefs read that and they're just like, I don't want you to have a bad meal. If you would have told me, I would have recooked that piece of fish. I would have given you a different burger. I would have done whatever I needed to. I would have bought you a gift card to Texas de Brazil. I would have done whatever I needed to do to make you happy, but you just have to tell me.
Yeah.
And I think that's the disconnect that a lot of people have, and I think it might be what you just said, Katina. People are just afraid of confrontation, and it's a lot easier to hide behind a keyboard than it is to actually go up to someone and say, hey, I think you made a mistake, or even, maybe not even that, but hey, I don't like the way that you made this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're not, you can't make everybody happy. You just can't. I don't know. I stopped trying to lose sleep about it because it's a bummer when it affects your staff's livelihood and your team, because that's really who you're pushing for, is the livelihood of your team, and it affects them, and that's probably the biggest bummer about it. But I always tell people, I'm like, we're not pizza. We're not for everyone. It's like, if you don't like my style of restaurant, that's great. I'm going to sleep really good, and I'll feel good about what I'm doing still. So life's too short. It's easy to get caught up in it, but very early on, I just stopped, and as I was coming up and chefs, and I just watched restaurants and chefs and really change who they were, what they're doing because of what people think. And it's a bummer because it stifles creativity, and eventually food all kind of becomes the same because they're like, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. But we're really stifling creativity, more cool restaurants and stuff, because everybody kind of has to go into that box. And that's a huge bummer when we don't have people trying new things or taking risks or doing new concepts, or, you know, it's like if that support's not there, we lose that. And that's probably the biggest shame of it all.
Oh, you took a risk, Ben, because in 2016, right, was when Courant opened?
Yep.
2016, I mean, the idea of a tasting menu was not a thing in Omaha. Maybe at some of the fancier, like a V-Mertz or the Boiler Room, if you like specifically requested it for a birthday or an anniversary or something, you could get that. But to have a menu that was built mainly off the tasting menu, that was a wildly bold thing to do in 2016, and I think that helped push Omaha's food scene a lot into the future. So thank you for not listening to all the people and for staying true to your vision and being bold, because you created something that is incredible. I think it's one of the best restaurants I've ever eaten at, and I'm so grateful that it's here.
Thanks, Dan. I appreciate that. You know, I did like 3, 4, 6 months, and I probably told Paulie this. I was like, do I need to put a burger on the menu? And both my bartender and the wine guy at the time, they were like, Ben, you cannot put a burger on the menu. And I was like, I don't know what else to do. No one's eating here. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate the support, Dan.
What was it that helped you stick to your guns and say, no, this isn't going to be another place where people can go get a burger, but this is going to be a different experience. We're going to stick it out.
You know, and I always say it like this, and I'm kind of selfish, but I love to cook what I love to eat. And I feel very grateful when people support that. You know, I feel very lucky. I get to create what I like to create, and I'm lucky enough to have a community that supports that. And slow and steady, you know, just one day at a time, eventually people started catching on to it. And, you know, it's crazy to think, you know, after COVID and everything, and, you know, Courant's going to be 10 in September, which I think is awesome. You know, we're selling almost 55 to 60% tasting menu on any given week. So it's cool to just see that Omaha's latching onto that, and we change the menu every week, and people still want to try it. And, you know, I guess at the end of the day, I'm just humble and grateful.
When is a time where a customer interaction genuinely affected the way that you looked at your restaurant?
You know, I don't know. I mean, sometimes, you know, there's little touches. Like, let's say we have our regulars, and those to me their feedback is worth the most, because they actually take time out of their week, and we have people that come in. So they're like, hey, you need to upgrade the paper towels in the bathroom. And you're like, you were so right. Or like, you know, and those are the people that, yeah, I mean, they have the best, they're there all the time. And you're like, you know what? You're right. You're right about that. Or we got to do this, or we got to do that. So there's been a few times, but that was one more recently that I was like, they were so right.
That's a really good point. I don't have any examples, but I agree. It's like when you hear from your regulars and they're just like, hey, like, this is different, or I would like it this way. They're the ones that are spending their money there, and you want it. At the end of the day, you know, we're not going to put lasagna on the menu because one regular wants it. But you know what I mean? But there are little touches here and there that, you know, they're the reason we're here, so.
A Block 16 lasagna would be damn good. It would also be a pain in the butt to execute, I have no doubt.
Yeah. No. Yeah, you got to go get lasagna from Ben.
I haven't made one in a while.
Coming to a tasting menu near you.
Yeah.
It's been on there before. It's made a debut. It's happened. Might happen again.
Okay. We'll bring it
Stay
back.
peeled.
There's the famous line, the customer is always right. And I feel like restaurants kind of take one of two approaches to this. Some restaurants say, you know what, we want to create a special experience for our guests, so we will go out of our way to cater to them and to do whatever we can to make their experience as close to what they want it to be. And there are other chefs that say, I have a specific vision for my restaurant, and if somebody wants me to change that just for them, no. They're going to have to, this is my place, they're going to have to play by my rules. Where do you guys stand on the line, the customer is always right?
I think I side mildly with the customer is always right, in that if it gets to a point where someone is just being a D-bag to my staff, then we don't want you as a customer anyway. You know, if you're going to come in there and start pointing fingers and be a jerk about things, then the customer is not right, but we don't want you as a customer. And that sounds harsh, but, you know, there are some people that come in and act out, and, you know, what are you going to do? You can't have, you know, we had a lady throw her to-go box at one of our front-of-the-house staff members because it took 17 minutes to get her food, and that's not right. It's just not right. And so at that point, the customer is not right, and they're no longer a customer there. So that, I guess that's kind of where I side. But at the end of the day, I side more with the customer is always right, because that's why we're here and that's why we're doing it. So
Yeah, that's of course there's always a line, but like I own businesses that are like highly customizable. We are bending over backwards to give people what they want. So I would agree with you. Like we're definitely on the customer always right side.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's times where they're not right, but, you know, I mean, is it positive? Is it constructive? Does it make sense? Yeah. I mean, they can be right. Can we always do better? Absolutely. Sure. We're human. You know, we could always fine-tune things, get something, you know, do a better tasting menu, fine-tune this, fine-tune that. Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I think it's more like how it's delivered and how is it, you know, sometimes they are right. A lot of times they are right. Are we, you know, we didn't learn how to sabotage our guests in culinary school. You know, that's not why we got into this. We're not going to oversalt things and sabotage the food on purpose. It's just not what we do. But it's going to happen, and you know, sometimes they are right, but never the intent.
In what way, as you look back at your career, do you think being a restaurateur has grown you or evolved you as a person?
It's definitely matured me a lot. That's for sure.
That's highly debatable. I think so. I would think that, I don't know, my patience has gotten, I think my patience got a lot worse, and now it's gotten a lot better. And if that makes sense, it's like the amount of stress, I think, affects you at the beginning, but then it's almost like a quick hard lesson, and then you learn how to deal with problems, because there's always going to be problems. So to me, I would agree with Ben. It's helped mature me.
Yeah, I think when I started, I mean, basically, you know, my entire life I was focused on being the best at things, like big achiever, like that was what drove me. And I think achievement is still at the core of what I do, but I have really lost like the importance of being the best. Like I just want to do something that I'm really proud of and put out really good food, and the accolades just like don't mean what they used to. Like I think at the end of the day, like I'm just looking to like make people happy and make really good food and do something that I'm proud of. So my focus has shifted a lot over the course of 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. If you had something more.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah, it's just at the end of the day, our goal, as I tell everybody, we do our best to make sure every guest leaves happy. That is the number one thing. No matter what, that's our goal.
Yep.
Make sure they leave happy.
I know this might have improved over the last couple of years. I know for sure a couple of years ago, staffing was very, very difficult. That was a hot button topic. You guys can tell me if it's gotten better or worse, but what are some of the challenges with staffing, and why has that been an issue for restaurants over time?
No, I'm looking at you guys.
You know, I think margins, labor costs have gotten a lot higher. You know, the crunch, you got to do more with less. You know, I mean, the pressures are there, so I think that's made it challenging. But you know, I think what's also kind of gotten away, to kind of touch back on what we were talking about earlier, is, you know, and this is probably 100% just my opinion, you know, it used to be chefs working with their teams and just spending time with their teams and mentoring and coaching and teaching the next generation. And I think a lot of that has changed just because we have been busy. You know, you're talking about like hotel chefs. They don't ever in the kitchen, or they don't do this, or different operations, bigger operations, you know, and you just don't have this one-on-one rapport anymore where you're coaching and teaching and be like, hey, why don't you do it like this? Or, you know, I always tell my cooks, I go, I don't know much, but what I do know, I will teach you, you know, and here's how you sharpen your knives, and here's why we blanch the vegetables in really salted water, and here's why you want to strain it after it's, you know, and that could just be me, but, you know, I think that's kind of gotten away, and we've lost a little bit of that craftsmanship and like pride in our business, and, you know, passing that on to the next generation.
I feel like it took a hit during COVID. I think it was just a big. There were a lot of different things that added into that. It was, you know, for one, people were made to stay home, and it was for so long that people started to get this feeling of like, you know, do I need to interact with people? Do I need to can I get a job where I can just work from home? And I feel like we lost over half of our staff, and we had the same staff for over 10 years, and we lost probably 70% of them to Toast, because Toast was like, come work here, we'll give you a huge sign-on bonus, we're paying top dollar, you can drink beer at work, and you can work from home and whatever you want, and we just couldn't compete with that. But I do feel like now it's coming back. Like, we've got some really, three of all of our amazing staff, three of them that really stand out are all 18, 19 years old, and they want to cook, and that's what they want to do, and they want to learn, and it feels really good to get them back in, because it was hard for a while. People just didn't have things were just different. I mean, COVID just flipped the world upside down, so it, you know, divided a lot of people and made everything really weird for a while, but I feel like it's coming back.
I was listening to a podcast with Karen Akunowitz recently. She's a James Beard award-winning chef. I believe her restaurants are in Boston. But she was talking about how the personalities of cooks that are coming out of culinary school today are just so different, in that they come in, some of it is from food TV. They think that they're going to be famous. A lot of young professionals are prioritizing work-life balance and having time off, and these are things that just aren't really compatible with the restaurant world. How have you guys seen the personalities of this generation of cooks and employees shift from previous ones?
You know, I'm definitely encouraged. I'm sure there's a lot of that, but, you know, the crew we have right now at Courant is just young and hungry, and I'm stoked every day just to see what they're eager to work on, and their work ethic and willingness to learn, and just good energy. You know, I'm sure there's that out there, and I know it's shifted, but, you know, on a micro scale, it's just maybe that's because that's the people we seek out. But I'm encouraged. I'm very encouraged that people still want to do this and kind of stay in this work, and I hope it continues to go that way. But I'm on the up and up for sure.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I've been very lucky, so can't complain too much.
What does success for a restaurant, do you guys think, what does it look like now compared to when you got started?
I don't know, retiring?
Just being able to stay open, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, being able to get a day off here and there to see your kids, and, you know, staying open, doing what you love.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, for me, it's just making just enough to keep putting money back into it, continue growing and improving it, and yeah, it hasn't changed all that much. The goal's always kind of been to just sustain yourself.
Survival.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to ask a question, and then I'm going to explain myself, because I don't want it to come across negatively. I want it to come across positively. I would love for each of you guys to share one thing that the general public, we can do as diners, that will improve our dining experience. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not asking you to scold us and be like, don't write reviews online or anything like that, but, like, genuinely, what can we do that will help us enjoy going to a restaurant more? What can we do to improve our own experience?
Just try something new. There's that old like Anthony Bourdain quote where he's like, just, sit next to a stranger at a bar and grab a beer and order something that you've never ordered before. And that's what I'd say. I'd love to go to Courant and just, I'll always get the oysters, but there's always, it's always you order what you want and then you order one of the small plates of something that you've just never heard of. And same with Sweet Mags. I'm a diabetic, so I don't get to go there as often. But
Sorry.
My niece worked for her for some time, so I always get to see all this cool stuff that she was popping out. So yeah, just go try something new. Try something that you don't know if you'll like it, but you probably will.
I would say, learn your bartender's name, learn your server's name. Being a regular somewhere there's nothing better than being a regular somewhere. And I look at some of the customers that have been customers for 10 years now, and I guarantee that their experience, whether it's intentional or not, we're trying to treat everyone with kindness, but when we see Fred and Dana walk in, we are stoked that Fred and Dana are there, and we are going to ask them how their day is, if they've got any weekend plans. It's just, the building a rapport with the people goes a long way.
I'm going to agree with both those.
And to you guys' point, I think, especially Paul, just the idea of opening your mind to something. You guys have all given me experiences that open my mind. I've just thinking about it right now. Before Sweet Mags, I'd never had a savory scone. I'd only had sweet ones. My first octopus was one of my favorite things to eat. My first octopus I had was on a tasting menu at Courant. Paul, you guys make things every day that I've never, like the poutine burrito. Where else would I ever get that? But just being open-minded and being able to say, this place is doing something really creative and something cool and I want to experience it, gives you an opportunity to open your mind and just learn more and be better. I want to ask a question about Omaha specifically. What is, from you guys' experiences, what you've experienced traveling or just research what you know, what is unique about owning a restaurant in Omaha compared to other parts of the country, even other parts of the world?
Real estate's a lot cheaper.
There's a cool thing about Omaha where it is kind of just a big small town, and every time I travel and think of could I open a Sweet Mags here? I'm there's places where I'm oh, this feels doable, but there is just a built-in community in Omaha, and the people really want to support local. They get really excited about what's new. Maybe it's just because I live here, but I'm I can't think of an easier place to do this. It just feels really the hurdles are lower.
Agreed. I agree with all of it. I do. I think I've worked in a lot of other places, but Block 16 is the only place I've ever owned. But the support that we see from Omaha is absolutely crazy. I don't even know how to get to Block 16 right now with the construction going on, but people are doing it. When I left tonight, we had a line out the door, and I was almost late because I couldn't get out of our alley. Somebody had parked there, and the sinkhole was blocking me in. And I was I didn't know what to do. But anyway, it's I don't even know how to get there, but people are finding their way. And and I know Benson has been under construction for about 34 years, and people find a way to get there. So yeah. It's a great community.
Yeah, I agree with that. It always blows my mind the people that come down and fight for parking, and even every once in a while I'll show up later on an evening when you're not there early, and I'm oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
How do people park here? But yeah, Omaha, and it's kind of those regulars, those people that come in, they 100% make it worth it. And that it is that community. It is the people that do get it here, they really get it. And they, it's so much fun to talk to those people and talk about food and talk about restaurants, and just, that's what really makes it fun. And that's, 12 years ago, I would have never thought I'd open a restaurant here. And, here we are.
As we wrap up here, what is one lasting thought that you hope everyone who's here tonight, anyone who's watching this, anyone who's listening to this, if you could leave them with one truth about owning a restaurant, what would that be?
I would say that we just want we really want people to be happy, and at the end of the day, like, we're people, and we will always do our best to make it right.
Yeah, to kind of echo that, it's like I feel like it can be really easy to divorce like the food and the business from the humans, and just especially like all of us are. The human element is impossible to remove from our food. Like we are from scratch, like making everything by hand. Like there is human error involved, and like it's the intention is good. Like we're doing our best, and and we love doing it. So
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as truths, I mean, we're just trying to make people happy. That's what we do, and I'm very grateful when people support that, and that's, sometimes people are weird about, using art and food, but it's just like, that's what we create, and, when you support that, that is the best thing. So keep supporting, new restaurants, new things, and it makes the food world better.
Well, that's the awesome thing about what all you guys and so many other restaurateurs in Omaha are doing is you're bringing unique, amazing things that we want to experience as guests. So I thank you so much for doing that. I thank you for all the crap that you go through, the hours, the staffing, the online reviews, customers throwing to-go boxes at people, which is just absolutely despicable and mind-numbing to even think about a situation where that would be acceptable in someone's mind. Anyway, thank you for all that you do, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this panel tonight. Can we give our guests a round of applause?
Thank you.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.